What's up YouTube? Today we'll take a look at the best on-reveal decks that you can play throughout all three card pools and as you progress throughout the collection road. Let's start right away with an on-reveal deck only containing cards from pool 1. This is what a build can look like. I've already featured this exact deck in a previous video. I'll leave a link right up here if you want to see a full guide and some gameplay. I'll just give a very quick explanation right here. This deck is centered around Odin as a powerful turn 6 finisher, reactivating the on-reveal effects of all of the other cards at this location. And we have some huge payoffs here. White Tiger is the most notable one. In the mid game we have Ironheart as well as Wolfsbane. Spider Woman, of course, also a great control tool. Apart from that, Medusa in the middle as well as Rocket Raccoons can sometimes get triggered. I personally like to play Squirrel Girl as well as Mr. Sinister so that we have enough units to make use of Ironheart and Wolfsbane on turn 3 if we want to play them on curve. If you find yourself clogging your locations too often, feel free to exchange Squirrel Girl with a card like Ant-Man. Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch are just in there for flexibility, and we have Jessica Jones just as a solid value card for mana 8 power is very sturdy. So if you want to see more of this deck, go check out that other video, but we'll move right on with pool 2 on reveal decks. And I have two different versions for you. The most key card that we can unlock in pool 2 is Jubilee. On reveal, play a card from your deck at this location. Ideally you want to play this on an empty location on turn 4, and then on turn 6 you can play Odin to reactivate that effect and to also reactivate the effect of whichever card Jubilee pulled. We still have a lot of the previous unrevealed synergies here. We have Ironheart, Wolfsbane and White Tiger. Spider Woman is a great tech choice as well. But apart from that, our deck is built a bit greedier. We play a lot more expensive power cards, and that is because it gets rewarded by Jubilee. We want high chances of Jubilee pulling something strong and impactful, so we play cards like the Infinaut, usually handicapped by his own card text, but of course an absolutely crazy Jubilee pull. We play America Chavez as well because she always remains in our deck until turn 6. Not only does it make it more likely for us to draw all of the other cards in the early and mid game, but also America Chavez is a pretty good pull herself. To round out the early game, we play a bit of Disruption in Iceman as well as Scorpion, both super useful cards to annoy our opponent. And Sunspot has some sweet synergies here. And that is, for example, if we do draw the Infinaut into our hand, we don't pull him from deck. What we can often do is skip turn 5. And while that would usually be a big hindrance and we would just waste the 5 mana, Sunspot does make use of it, converts it into 5 power, and we can still play Infinaut for an extra 20 power on turn 6. Another tech choice we could consider is Storm if we want to look for some more control. Killmonger is an interesting addition as well, but then we want to cut shorter on the 1-drops, only keep Sunspot or cut them completely. Either way, there's a lot of ways of building this deck and they're all very strong. That was my go-to deck when I was still in pool 2 and climbed all the way to infinite rank. I'll tell you right away, people often don't see the Infinaut play coming. If you skip turn 5, they just think your hand is garbage, they think they're super far ahead, and then you just catch them by surprise with a power turn. And I will show some gameplay of this deck in a second, but I just want to highlight another version of the same concept. This is actually what I used for climbing most of the time, because Sunspot was one of the last cards that I unlocked in pool 2. I had to get creative in deck building. If you're in the same shoes, this is a great alternative that you can do. We play Quicksilver as well as Domino, cards that usually don't really see a lot of play, but in this deck it kind of makes sense because they do allow us to play cards like Ironheart as well as Wolfsbane on curve and for some decent value, and they also ensure that Jubilee always pulls at least a 3 cost, most likely a more expensive card. However, that also means that we're a bit less likely to find Jubilee and the other combo pieces in the first few draws of the game. The upside, however, is a more consistent early game and better average pulls from Jubilee. So I'm not quite sure which one of the two versions is ultimately stronger. I'll let you be the judge of that, but either way I'll also include a little gameplay example for this deck as well. The sad thing is, like, for farming YouTube content, snapping makes a lot of players retreat. It's always more satisfying to watch the final turns unfold. Ooh. Pretty good. Anyone else hoping Jake Paul finally gets knocked out tomorrow? Who is he fighting? I mean, yes, I'm hoping he does, but who is he fighting? Ben Broad had a great Twitter thread a few days ago about Mulligan and game design. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, I agree. Ooh. White Tiger into Odin. Not much else to do here. Alright, against Anderson Silva. I'm a UFC enthusiast, so... like, Silva is an absolute legend to me. I really hope he does win. Okay. Yeah, it still works out. Good thing is, like, this... there's not even a risk of this getting bot... oh, damn it. It's fine, though. Not the worst. Guess Odin is better? The woman middle gets bounces to left. See the wave death combo decks? Yes. They're very strong. Rock. Kinda looks like a win. Okay, let's go. Victory.
What are the odds?
Give me a 3-drop, and this is an easy win. Wait, we're playing against Lobster 4-1-1. What? What? This is the first time ever I've seen anyone with a name remotely like mine. I don't think we play Ironheart right side. We want to play Jubilee right side next turn. Snap back at him. Although Ironheart is kinda cracked. It's for copying. Ah.
Time's up.
Okay, let's send it. Please no low roll, please no low roll. There you go. I mean, the rock was fine because we already won that location anyway. And that was the only real low roll we had left. The other one would have been Wolfsbane here. And last of all, let's take a look at some of the strongest on-reveal decks that you can build in this game. First of all, this deck might seem somewhat familiar to you. I already covered it in a full-on video. Wong, Odin, Dr. Doom is probably the strongest deck that I've played in this game so far, and also my go-to favorite deck for climbing if needed. So I'll cover the most important card that I haven't mentioned before. Wong, of course, is super synergistic with on-reveal cards. Also, if you play Odin in the same location as Wong, Odin basically activates the other cards 4 times. We still do play Ironheart as well as Wolfsbane as well as White Tiger as big payoffs for that. We play Jubilee, which we also very often want to play in the same location as Wong. She immediately pulls 2 cards from the deck. Dr. Doom is also super versatile, spreading out power across the whole board, and also very synergistic with a card like Storm, which can flood a location early on, which means no cards can be played there anymore, but we can still access that with White Tigers, or rather Tiger Spirits, as well as the Doombots from Dr. Doom. Another crazy control tool we have is Juggernaut. We can very often go Storm turn 3 into Juggernaut turn 4. If our opponent tries to contest that location, we basically just kick them out of contention, and that's often enough to secure the location, but this is also often a power play on turn 5 or turn 6 to close out the game. The early game is the same as we saw previously. We have Iceman as well as Scorpion for Disruption and Sunspot as a mana efficient card. There are also a lot of tech choices for this build. We could play cards like Gamora, Enchantress, we can play cards like Killmonger and cut down a bit on the early game, but I personally felt like this list was very well balanced and very versatile. Now in this video I will not showcase additional gameplay. Like I said, I already covered this in a full video. I link it up here. If you want to see a full-on guide and a lot of gameplay, feel free to check it out. But one deck that I do want to showcase is Lockjaw, our alternative for very cool on-reveal decks with pool 3 access. Well, Lockjaw is a very interesting card that requires us to build quite a bit of our deck around it. When you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck. That card's on-reveal effect also does get activated, so the card that we do pull from our deck. Now I'll say right away, one card that I am definitely missing in this deck that I would love to have is Thor, because he can give us Mjollnir, which is a very cheap way of reactivating Lockjaw's effect while giving us a power spike and buffing Thor. Nonetheless, even this build still worked out somewhat nicely. I'll explain all of the synergies here. So the reason we play Wasp is that on turn 3, when we play Lockjaw, we can immediately make use of its passive effect by playing Wasp in the same location. And the other synergy here is Jane Foster. She can draw Wasp and ideally Mjollnir from our deck again, and then we can use that card again to reactivate Lockjaw and so on. Another card that we would love to use to activate Lockjaw is Jubilee. Jubilee still completes her on-reveal effect, so she does pull a card from deck and then she gets swapped with another random card from the deck. That's usually an enormous power spike, and we're very top and heavy in this deck. I personally place 5 and 6 cost cards here. Hobgoblin is also a very cool one to pull. It is a bit risky, of course. If our opponent's location is full, it will not go over to their side, but instead be on our side and debuff us. But if it does, it immediately frees up the same spot again, so we have more potential Lockjaw pulls. I think Doom, Odin, and Infinaut don't need explanation. Magneto is just a very nice high power card with a lot of disruption, because we are usually winning the location we play Lockjaw in anyway. We want to draw our opponent's resources to that same location, so it's easier for us to win one of the other two as well. And to round out the deck, we have a bit of Iceman, Scorpion, early game disruption, and Wave, which we can also play on turn 3 to cheat out something like a Dr. Doom or Magneto much earlier than we usually would. So very cool and very fun deck overall. I will say right away, it's pretty inconsistent, pretty RNG heavy, but it performed pretty well nonetheless. So if you want to see some of this madness, here's some gameplay example. I'm not too happy about this. This is clogging locations for potential Lockjaw turns, but it's fine. Sure.
Opponent snapped.
Has to be like Wasp into Wave, right? Rather this way around. See, this is so good. We pulled this out of our deck. And we still have a free space for more lockjaw value later on. It can also go wrong though, of course. Our opponent's location is filled up. Here it's working out nicely. Odin looks good here. Ah, that's unfortunate.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here.
Okay, we won right side, and we can pull Jessica Jones into middle with Magneto, unless they flood. Which makes us win left side. I want to snap here. So right now it pulls Jones and Spider-Man. Let's go. That was a pretty slick one.